we have made it to one of the most intense divisions in the NFL, the NFC East, home of the Cowboys, Giants, Eagles, and Commanders. Definitely some of the most passionate fans, to use a positive word. I mean, this is just a really split division, I think. It's pretty funny. The two of the teams are very playoff hopeful, and the other two are tanking, maybe. They're not as hopeful, but we're going to get into all that in this video. I'm very excited for this one. Without further ado, let's get started. So the first team we got the Dallas Cowboys. It's just really funny because this first part is usually where I talk about like the big offseason changes the team made and, how it'll change from, last season to this season, how it'll impact the team. They didn't really do anything. They really didn't do anything after Jerry Jones said he was going all in. They drafted an O-lineman in the first round, which is nice. And then they signed Ezekiel Elliott and Eric Kendricks. And, that's it. What am I supposed to talk about, bro? Here's what I'll say. CeeDee Lamb is looking for a new contract. I assume they're going to pay him if they haven't already. He's going to get a pretty fat contract. I know Jerry Jones was talking about the struggles of paying somebody a lot of money when you're paying other people a lot of money also, and it's like yeah, bro, everyone's dealing with that. You're not alone, bro. This is a decision every team is making. But the other thing is Dak Prescott. Lots of talk about him potentially leaving by his own decision or by the organization's decision. So, I mean, in my opinion, they just need to pay him. I don't know how much Dak is demanding, asking for exactly. But I mean, Dak was but arguably top 3 MVP candidate last year, arguably top 5. He has been the constant in all of the great Cowboys offenses of the past couple years. He's been the driving force, honestly. Kellen Moore left and the offense was still good. And CeeDee Lamb was not the player he was last year, the year before that. But Dak Prescott's always been Dak Prescott. I just don't understand what their plan is if they let him walk. Who were you really hoping for? I just don't see why you would not pay Dak Prescott the money. He's clearly a franchise quarterback. He's taken them to the playoffs multiple times. They haven't won, but and I know that the Cowboys have not gotten past the second round, but to me, just even getting to the playoffs, being a top seed in the regular season, that's pretty good. I don't know. Like I said, there's not much to talk about. It's the same team from last year. Trevon Diggs is coming back from injury. I think he got injured last year. Or it might have been the year before, but I think it was last year. Micah Parsons still out there, still podcasting, still doing whatever with CJ Stroud. Yeah, I just think that this team just needs to lock in. I really don't know what else to say. Last year, everybody just did not lock in. Nobody was ready. It was really bizarre. The offensive game plan changed. The defensive game plan changed. Both for the worse. Dak didn't play great at the beginning of that game. The defense was playing like ass that game. Bro, can you perform for once? What are we doing? But like I said, this is a good team. They should be in the playoffs. I'd be really surprised if they didn't make the playoffs. This should be one of the contending teams. It really should. They have what they need. I was going to say my concern for the teams that the offense doesn't look as good as it did last year, but CeeDee Lamb is just getting better. I mean, I know Ezekiel Elliott isn't great, but Tony Pollard wasn't great last year either. He should have scored way more touchdowns and he didn't. Do they really need Zeke? I mean, it's kind of like CeeDee Lamb, Brendan Cooks, and Jake Ferguson as the main receiving options, which I think is fine. Rico Dowdle could be a fun sleeper pick if we want to use fantasy football terms. But yeah, this team should be good. But the takeaway for the team, the regular season is different from the playoffs. Lock in, man. You gotta lock in. You just gotta be ready. But I still think Dak's a top 10 quarterback. I feel like that shouldn't really be debatable. I feel like it shouldn't be. But that's my opinion. And I'll leave it at that. And, maybe in a separate video, talk about more about all the quarterbacks. But for now, we're going to keep it pushing. All right. So the next team that was much more active in the offseason for several reasons. New York Giants, after the loss of Saquon Barkley, throughout the offseason, they added Devin Singletary, Malik Nabers, a bunch of O-linemen. They traded for Brian Burns, and they drafted safety Tyler Nubin. And they still have Deontay Banks from last year's draft. So, where do we stand with this team? It's not very good. I don't know. Brian Daboll is just going to have a lot of work to do. So, before I talk about Malik Nabers, he's clearly the biggest acquisition for this team, potentially the biggest impact player. The defense with Brian Burns now, I think, is pretty interesting. I think that Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, maybe he plays a little bit better. Bobby Elkariki. The defense looks like kind of decent. Like, it's definitely not great. It's probably not even going to be like, it's looking like average, I think. But Brian Burns is a game changer, so maybe he can really elevate this defense, and the pass rush can do a lot of heavy lifting. So talk about Malik Nabers now. There's a lot of talk about what this offense can look like, and a lot of it to me is going to revolve around Malik Nabers, because in almost any other draft of the past, like, 5 years, maybe, I don't know how far back to go, but Malik Nabers would be the wide receiver one in a majority of the past however many drafts. He would have been the best receiver 100%. He just happened to be in the same one as Marvin Harrison Jr. But even some people had Malik Nabers ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. So, and listen, it feels like every passing day, it's like another team comes out and says, yeah, we tried to trade up to number 6 for Malik Nabers. Like, everyone wanted this guy. Like, everyone knows that this guy is, like, good at football, which is like, oh, like, big, like, that's crazy. What? Malik Nabers is good at football? So I think there's a chance that Malik Nabers takes this offense to a new level, because, I mean, Malik Nabers compared to all the other receivers on this roster this year and last year, like, it's not close. Right now, they still have Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt. Apparently, they have Allen Robinson the second. Like, what the hell? I didn't even know that. But I think Nabers can have that effect where having that guy that can just be a game breaker whenever you get him the ball, a guy that can just do everything, do anything, and any play, he has the chance to take it to the house. Like, just having that guy available to either lean on or to just, like, draw plays up specifically for him, like, that's huge. And I'm a big Malik Nabers fan. I just believe in him. Daniel Jones, I can't say the same for him. I don't think he's a good quarterback. I think I've seen enough of him, but he is still on this contract for another year or two. So maybe for fantasy purposes, Daniel Jones with Malik Nabers can create a little bit of fantasy magic. Depending on where you're drafting, Daniel Jones goes hilariously late, which is fair. Malik Nabers on some sites goes pretty late. So, but yeah, I'm not expecting a lot from this team. This is gonna be a bottom team in the league. The only interesting thing is, how well can Daniel Jones play? Is he gonna get benched? If he gets injured, how is Drew Lock gonna play? It's not a very inspiring team. My takeaway for this team is that sometimes overachieving can be a little bit misleading. They somehow, by the skin of their teeth, made it to the playoffs a couple years ago, and then they won a playoff game, and that's just absurd. Looking at that roster, we move on because this team is not that cool. So we're going to move on to a team that is cool. Well, the players are cool to me. Philadelphia Eagles, the new home of Saquon Barkley, and have just had Jason Kelce retire. So this team is definitely going to look a little bit different next year. So with this team, I almost feel like there's too much to talk about compared to the Giants. Like, I feel like I could talk about literally everything on this team and it would be relevant. So I'm just going to try to speed through it position by position. So we're going to start with Saquon Barkley. Obviously, Barkley's here. One of the biggest free agency moves of the offseason. The Eagles are finally actually investing in a running back after fielding like Miles Sanders and DeAndre Swift. And they were like, you know what? Why don't we get a really good player at running back and see what happens? So potentially less tush push next year. Saquon Barkley is a really good running back. If you didn't know, I think that it's very possible Saquon Barkley just doesn't get tackled at the one as much as DeAndre Swift did. I think it's very possible that they give him the ball in the red zone more. AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, they're still pulling up. They're still a really fun duo. Obviously, it's the same thing. The new offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, I've mentioned before in the Cowboys video, he has been responsible. I'll say responsible. He has been a part of some really incredible wide receiver fantasy seasons, a la CeeDee Lamb, a la Keenan Allen last year. So we could see something similar from one of these guys. I would bet on AJ Brown because AJ Brown is a better player than Devontae Smith. But I just am excited for this offense to look better because last year was a disaster. The sneaky name to keep an eye on at wide receiver for all the sickos, Johnny Wilson. He's a rookie. He's like 6'8" or something, or 6'6". He's enormous. He could be the third wide receiver on this team, and I think that'd be really fun. Dallas Goedert's still there. The O-line is mostly the same. Obviously, Jason Kelce retired, but the center that has taken over is like handpicked by Jason Kelce. Like, he was the guy that Kelce wanted. He was like, I want that guy to to be under my wing. So Cam Jurgens is taking over at center. On defense, they've replaced Hassan Reddick with Bryce Huff. Josh Sweat still here, but the big thing for this team is that after getting cooked in the secondary over and over, they added Quinyon Mitchell, corner in the draft. They added CJ Gardner-Johnson, safety, and they added Cooper DeJean, another corner / safety hybrid in the draft. Shout out to Howie Roseman. He looked at the team. He's like, we have issues at these positions. I think it's time we fix that. He went out. He did his best to fix it. And now the team definitely looks better. Like I said, with the new offensive coordinator, really hoping things just look better. This offense is so stacked on talent that this should be... I'm expecting this to be one of the highest scoring offenses in the league. And this team is primed to make the playoffs again. And, I'm excited to see another good Jalen Hurts season. Hopefully we get that. The only thing in question, I think, is the tush push coming back. How prominent will it be with Saquon Barkley, without Jason Kelce? I still think we'll get some of it. I really doubt that it's gone forever. I highly, highly doubt that. But, it helps to have another option. And Saquon Barkley is a much better goal line short yardage option than DeAndre Swift is. They still got Vic Fangio at defensive coordinator. And, there's mixed reviews from players. Some people just don't like him. But he has a pretty good track record, I think, as a defensive coordinator. So, if the coaches can really be great, or at least just good, better than the ones from last year, this team could, they make a deep playoff run. Maybe they go back to the Super Bowl. I don't know. This team is super, super talented. This team is stacked. This is a really, really fun team. It's a really, really good team. And my takeaway is that true contenders really do need everything. Obviously, the roster was pretty good last year. It had some holes. But without the play calling, the good offensive coordinator, the good defensive coordinator from their Super Bowl run, the team looked way different. It looked terrible at some points of the season. And so, if they can fix that, they can hone in on, getting back to the success from the Super Bowl run. Use more of those plays, more of that offense, all whatever it takes, then I could see this team going back to the Super Bowl. But they need everything to click if they want to be a true contender again. The last team in this division, the Washington Commanders, now under head coach Dan Quinn and led by rookie quarterback Jayden Daniels, number 2 overall pick in the draft. It'll be fun to watch Jayden Daniels play just to see what he's made of, see how good he is. But like the rest of the team, it's like, I'm not very excited for this. So we'll start with the skill position players. Brian Robinson Jr., I'm a fan. I'm excited to see him another season removed from being shot in the leg. I think he can still be even better than he than he has shown. And his complete opposite, Austin Eckler, is also here. You know, you see the shirt. I've seen the good with Austin Eckler. Unfortunately, I have also seen the bad. I know he had injuries, but he looked so slow last year. It was hard to watch, honestly. Like oh man. But Terry McLaurin still here as wide receiver 1. I think Jahan Dotson can be a good player. I just hope that he can get the targets. Luke McCaffrey's here. I think he's Christian McCaffrey's brother. Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz is here. Like, he could probably be serviceable. He's definitely not as good as he was before, but like, you know, come on. Like, but the big thing with this offense is like the O-line is pretty terrible. This O-line it's not good. So that worries me for Brian Robinson. That worries me for Jayden Daniels, but you know, maybe that just means Jayden Daniels is going to have to scramble a lot. In college, whenever he was pressured, he would run a lot more than he would pass. I don't know what we're expecting really in terms of statistical success from Jayden Daniels. I think this season you really just want to see if he can be your quarterback for the future. But yeah, I think he can be good. He's an older prospect, which means he just has had more time playing football in college compared to the 21-year-olds. Jayden Daniels is 23. So the extra experience could be good. The front 7 for the defense is pretty cool. Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Frankie Louvu, I think was a great signing at linebacker. Bobby Wagner was another signing of like an older person where I was like right, like Bobby Wagner, like he's still good, but yeah, the defense as a whole, probably not great. Probably not going to be very exciting. Probably not going to be very good. This team, definitely just like looking at the players on it, this is like like they're probably heading back to the bottom 10, bottom 5, which, you know, is fine. Like there's no pressure. Like, just make sure you're on the right track. But, you know, it's a young team, relatively young, so we'll see what happens. We'll see how good Jayden Daniels is. The takeaway for this team is that everything starts from the top. I'm looking at you, Dan Snyder. There's a reason that good organizations are good organizations. It's because all the decisions being made from top to bottom are good. Clearly, there were a lot of really bad decisions being made for this team. So, you know, maybe now with new ownership, things can start looking up. Things will be a little bit better. But yeah, I think for Jayden Daniels, I think he can definitely be a good quarterback. He has shown a lot of accuracy. He obviously is very athletic. So, who knows? Maybe he could be the next franchise quarterback in this division. But just for next season, not the most optimistic in terms of him having a good statistical year. But that's okay. And I think that's going to do it for this video. Like I said, NFC East is always insane. I feel like this is one of the divisions where some of these teams really, really just don't like each other. Like they really just don't. So that's fun for all of us watching. If I talked about one of your favorite teams in this video, leave a comment. Let me know what your expectations are, which players you're looking out for on your team and on the other teams. Yeah, let me know what you thought. Leave a like, hit subscribe. I will be finishing out the divisional previews for whatever's left. If you want to watch any of the other ones, they're in a playlist. You'll see it in an end card at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you'll be seeing more of me soon. Hopefully I'll see you later. Peace out.